What's going on, you beautiful people? Today we're going to be looking at the Witches Festival. It's going to be the event that actually starts today and runs all the way into November 2nd. And to get started with most ESO events, all you need to do is go to the Crown store and start the quest, the Witch Mother's Bargain. And that will give you a memento whistle. Why this is important: if you've actually done this quest before, you don't actually need to get the whistle again. You can still do the quest, but you don't have to worry about that. But that means that every time you want the double XP to be activated, you need to reuse the whistle and make sure you're seeing it on your bar. It will only last for, I believe, 2 hours. Actually, yeah, here it is. Receive a 2-hour buff, summon, and the Witch's Cauldron. Do all that mumbo jumbo. Basically, though, you don't have to use it every single time. Just the whistle part, though. But you can use the cauldron if you want also. So, jumping right into the rewards. During the Witches Festival, when you do the monster, you'll receive a plunder. That's kind of just, the boring nonsense of it. Let's talk about the rewards. Fragments. Useless. I mean, sure, cool. I love pets also, except every time I bring out a pet or have one out, people yell at me to put it away because it causes the game to lag too much. So, more importantly, the other cool stuff, the Hollow Jack style items, the Jamora, the Witches Festival themed recipes. These are actually going to be probably the best thing so far. And the furnishings and furnishing recipes, that will be interesting because I'm not sure exactly how that will look, but usually furnishing recipes do really well. Alchemy ingredients, always, decent, enough. And an assortment of creepy valuable items, probably like gold, quick sell items, maybe crown or transmute crystals, other bits and bobs. But more importantly, what to get the different chances to get each item. So the first time you slay different types of bosses, you'll receive a special Bamora plunder that can be obtained. So what this means is every time you kill basically a specific type of monster that'll actually be listed below, and we'll talk about that here in just 1 second, you'll basically get one of those gold crates that you get to open, and that will have an increased chance to get these items. Oh yeah, and then you also get the writs too if you want to get the witch title. So those of you who want to be called a witch and burn on this campfire here, you're going to have to do a bunch of Witches Festival writs. So there's also going to be treasure maps to find weapon styles. These have been out for a little bit. These things might be pretty cool. So if you actually get these pretty early on, I would try to sell them right away if they're in the rune box form. I would just quick sell them and then you can buy them later, because most of the time those things will be worth a lot at the beginning because new players, or like richer players who are just getting into the event, they buy this stuff right away because they like to have everything, and then immediately afterwards, once everyone has it, it plummets. So here's the big part that I wanted to discuss with you guys. So depending on the type of bosses, you'll receive one of 2 different Jamora motive pages. Now, and we're going to talk about which are the best places to go for these things, but let's just talk quickly about the different ones here. So bow legs, final arena, dark anchors, and all that other stuff. It's basically a dark anchor. Daggers, gloves, delve bosses. That's going to be your style pages for staves and belts. And then the helmets and maces from your final dungeon, and then public dungeons, Imperial City bosses, and quest drop bosses. That's going to be your swords, boots. Final trial bosses are going to be your sword and your chest, and world bosses are going to be your shoulder and axes. So what this will be is that we're going to kind of go through each one of these here and talk about the easiest places to go. But this is basically going to kind of determine what exactly you're getting. Now, you'll still be able to buy these items, so I don't necessarily know if this is going to be like, a good gold making method. So for example, the chests are probably chests and legs are usually the most valuable one. So that would mean that it would be very valuable of your time to do that, although I really don't know. I think there's multiple types of Jamora, so I don't know if this is just the default Jamora. If that's the case, then this is worthless and you could just ignore this whole section. But if you wanted to do a final trial boss or a final arena boss, we'll start here. My recommendation would be to go to Dragonstar Arena. I think it is a great place to grind. I think there's good weapons there that you can use, especially for PvP builds, and I think that the PvE staff there for restoration is really good for healers. So that's my recommendation for an arena. If you're solely doing it based on time, But I believe Black Rose Prison is actually faster, like time-wise, because Dragonstar really does have a lot of time in between rounds and bosses and things. But as far as like easiness, I would definitely say Dragonstar is way easier. Dark Anchors, you need to ignore the rest of this. Just go to the Alakir Desert. There's going to be 80,000 people in the Alakir Desert, as there always is, doing Dark Anchors, regardless, just because it's double XP. Jump on that bandwagon and go on getting there. Delve bosses, I mean, this is just really relative. What I would say, though, is just go to Deshaun and then go into the place where we farm the Mother's Sorrow, right next to the public dungeon. I believe it's the Lady Laurel Shelter, if I'm just freehanding that information. And then you could just go kill that Delve boss there. Although, honestly, like, Delve bosses, like, you know, kill any Delve boss. Final dungeon bosses. So this is an interesting one. If you didn't know about Fungal Grotto 1, Fungal Grotto is probably the quickest farmed dungeon you can do. Personally, I think I'm able to easily do it in sub 2 minutes, and there's people who are able to do it even faster than that. You can skip majority of the bosses. You could just run past everything except for, I believe, like 2 or 3 bosses in total. It's crazily easy. Public dungeons, what my recommendation would be is just go to a public dungeon that you don't have the skill point for. It will bring you to the zone map, and if you hover over the group dungeon event, it will tell you if you've completed it, and it will say incomplete if you haven't done it. Final trial. Now, if you were looking at purely a time, like a time run, I would say doing like NCR +3 would be probably the fastest like one you could do. So you might see people doing a lot of that. But then there's easy ones like NAA and Hellraw Citadel. I mean, there's a lot of fast trials out there. So really, if this is your goal, like you could just get a group that are running and you could just rotate characters on like an NCR. Because I believe you'll have a higher rate if you go on different characters to get these boxes. But if not, you know, it is what it is. These are just Dremora. And then world bosses, you could do any world boss, although generally the starter zones have easier world bosses than like the DLC zones, so that's something to consider. But honestly, it's a world boss, you know, YOLO. In addition, you'll also be able to get new daily quests, new daily quests of collecting 50 cursed feathers. Teleport into a special realm to battle a new world boss monster. Not sure what that is. That sounds crazy. It's probably... Actually, I don't know what they'll do with that. I wonder if it'll drop a... Nah, there's no way it drops a new set or anything. That'll probably just be one of those things that seems cool, but don't necessarily think it'll be, you know, meta for you to be farming your time for. They'll have the old one of these. They're actually going to be releasing this little house here. And the 2 first fragments of this, which you'll be able to get all of them by the end of the year, which, fun fact, will probably have a lot more events because ESO is just caking on the events. And this is the festive time of the year, so that kind of makes sense. But you'll be able to get the 2 fragments for the Doom Chair Plateau, and that will give you this house right here. You can have your own little place of oblivion. You'll be able to get these 2 emotes, mementos. You'll be able to get the boar, spooky furnishings, group repair kit, and witch's grab bag. I actually really like when they do this because this gives people the ability who have extra event tickets that don't already have all these things or maybe have already found them already. And you can get stuff from previous years. I really do like when they do that, so that's kind of cool. And that's about it. So just to quickly recap what I believe the number one thing to be farming is honestly, if you want a lot of these boxes and you want to kill a bunch of final bosses, public dungeons obviously have a whole lot. The one in Deshaun, that rotation there to go through there's like 4 or 5 of them. You just keep cranking through them. Delve bosses is also going to be a pretty quick respawn, but Dark Anchors in the Alakir Desert is going to be massively fast. Final trial bosses is nice, and final arena bosses, and if it wasn't just the final dungeon boss, I would say doing dungeons. There's definitely dungeons where there's a lot of bosses, but because it's only the final one, that's kind of garbage. It's not necessarily worth it. I believe that there is still a chance to drop it because this is just kind of talking about the first type of boss you defeat. So this is just going to fall into what you want to roll for from your gold box. But this is probably a pretty similar rate for all of like the other rewards and when you're going to get your other grab bags. because they don't necessarily specify when you defeat a monster. So it is possible and likely that you get it from other ones. Like if you're doing like, NCR plus 0 and you kill all the other side bosses, I'm sure, you have a chance to get them then. But things like the Alakir Desert are just going to be really, really fast. Public dungeons, you can kill bosses in there so quickly. So that would be my suggestion, and just continue to look and make sure that you are farming for the piece that you want. Where is that? Based on what you kill the first time that day. That way you have a chance to get the item page that you want. But remember, too, that they're tradable. So don't put too much stress into it and just go have fun. Utilize the double XP. If you've watched my previous double XP event, you'll know that it's crazy amounts of double XP you can be getting right now. So that'll be active during this event also. But again, if you guys have suggestions, comments, concerns, leave it in the comments below. And other than that, I'll see you in the next one. And thanks again for all the support on the recent videos. It has been absolutely amazing. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.